The Bat Pod presents Gotham Currents, a podcast about current releases of Batman comics.
Welcome to episode 5 of Gotham Currents. My name is Bill Beer, and joining me tonight, as always, John Koos.
Hey, Bill, I'm ready to discuss a very dynamic issue of Batman.
You are. That's good. That's good. It should be pretty interesting. We're jumping into Batman 147. That's part 3 of Dark Prisons. We're heading up to 150. I have no idea what they're going to do for 150. It's probably not that big of a deal.
Well, we already know they're going to have to transition somehow into the Absolute Power big crossover.
Of course, yeah. And I know there will be crossover issues from what I saw solicited, so.
Yes. Sneak peeks can kind of be dangerous, but you can't resist yourself, can you?
No, and especially, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I've been doing that for how many years, looking at solicits.
Yeah, which half the time the covers kind of spoil things for you. So I try not to, but to each his own.
You're better than me at that, then.
Yeah. I like my stories, in order.
It's understandable. I actually do that with movies. Movies that I really want to see. I stay away from the trailers.
Oh, entirely the trailers. Well, sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch a teaser, but, sometimes they have 2 or 3 different trailers, and I stay away after the first one. I kind of just ignore it.
My favorite thing is when you see a trailer and then you see the movie, and then at the end of the movie you realize I pretty much already saw this movie in the trailer.
Right. That happens more often than not. So,
a mark of a weak movie.
Yes. So if you'd like to join the conversation, we have an email. It's gothamcurrents@gmail.com. We are on Twitter and Facebook. So let's take a quick break here, and when we come back, it's Batman 147.
The Bat Pod is a spoiler podcast. Please read the comics we're reviewing so you can enjoy the show.
Hey folks, I want to tell you about Magazines and Monsters, a podcast that's dedicated to comic books as well as classic horror and sci-fi films. This podcast channel contains a bunch of shows like the Bronze Age of Horror Comics, a podcast it's about Bronze Age horror comics. There's also The Brave and the Bob, a show celebrating Volume 1 of The Brave and the Bold from DC Comics and all things Bob Haney. But hey, let's not forget the main show itself, Magazines and Monsters, which rotates between old-school horror and sci-fi films with a heavy emphasis on the British studios Hammer and Amicus. Plus, you'll get a selection of episodes about comic books, ranging from DC to Marvel and everything in between. So join your host Billy D and a few of his favorite friends for a fun and positive look at his 2 favorite pastimes. Find Magazines and Monsters now on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our issue tonight is Batman 147, Dark Prisons, Part 3. Your writer, Chip Zdarsky, art, Jorge Jimenez, colors, Tamu Mori, letters, Clayton Cowles, associate editor, Ivan Cohen, and editor, Katie Kubert. And we get a cover here. We have Bruce front and center taking off his cowl. One side you have Damian Wayne, and the other side you have a real serious looking Amanda Waller. What did you think of this cover?
Like all the previous covers in this run, I really like the art and the way it's structured, and it makes you want to open the book. With respect to, Bruce looks somber or reflective, kind of look, maybe I dare say depressed or something. Clearly not confident, not the confident Bruce Wayne we typically experience. Yeah, and Amanda looks like her, menacing self or angry self. and we already know that she's, behind the scenes on all the books seemingly right now in the DC universe. And then you got the Damian piece. Now, to go back to what we were talking about at the beginning about looking at covers 3 months in advance, this was new to me. I didn't see this, but we were wondering if Damian would catch on at some point as opposed to sign up for the failsafe Zur Batman. And this kind of gives us a sneak peek. You see a silhouette or a shadow of him fighting someone with bat ears. And I'm thinking this is the issue that maybe the light bulb goes off and he realizes that not is all cool with failsafe Batman. So cool cover.
Yeah, I have to agree. I didn't really look that much into it. I see what you're saying there with Robin, and that makes a lot of sense. And what are those little? It makes me think that it's the failsafe, Zur, because you have the little arcs of yellow, like it's glancing off like metal or something. Do you see that in the artwork there?
Yeah, I do see it. It's not entirely clear, but
Yeah.
Damian's definitely in a defensive crouch, ready to defend himself. Usually, don't even see Damian
No.
that way. He's usually kind of like he's on the giving end. He's always have that look where he's going to be the aggressor. He's ready to defend himself here.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. And Amanda Waller just looks menacing, and you can't get too much out of that one. So.
Yes. She's got purple lipstick that matches her purple coat.
Yeah, she does have pearls she's wearing. I wonder if that's
she's
significant.
Classy lady.
So, in this issue, Zur tells Robin as Zur is listening in on every electronic device in Gotham, crime will never end, and neither will he. Elsewhere, the newly appointed commissioner of Gotham City, Vandal Savage, is addressing a crowd of reporters and onlookers as an assailant fires a gun, but Zur swoops in and blocks the shot. As he apprehends the perpetrator, noting that he most recently worked for Catwoman. Amanda Waller is monitoring Zur Batman's situation in Gotham. Bruce is driving to the Wayne cabin, hoping that Zur won't think of the cabin or realize Bruce's plan. Bruce makes a stop at former headquarters of the Justice League of America in Happy Harbor, Rhode Island. He reminisces about an encounter with Flash, in which Barry reminded him the need to let others help. Back at Blackgate, Zur meets Daniel Capdio, who points out that Batman has escaped and tells Zur he is underestimating Batman. Amanda Waller's agents infiltrate Wayne Manor. Robin is waiting for them and takes them out. Zur crashes the location in which Waller is directing the operation along with the Clock King. Zur leaves Waller with a warning. At the Wayne cabin, Bruce flashes back in time when he tried to teach Tim archery. In the Bat Cave, Robin suddenly realizes what Zur has done, grows enraged, and demands to know what Zur has done with his father. Zur explains to Robin, which involve Amazobots with the consciousness of different Zur and Oz from across the multiverse. And also, he must have a Robin. At the Wayne cabin, Bruce unexpectedly meets up with Tim Drake, who figured out where Bruce would go. Bruce acknowledges that his fears and what Zur might do to his family has caused him to isolate himself. Tim reminds Bruce that each and every member of the Bat family chose this life and that Bruce cannot hold himself accountable for loss of his loved ones. The issue ends as Bruce puts on a new bat suit and tells Tim it's time to put this monster down.
Woo, yeah.
What an issue. We jump into this issue and we got Damian and Zur in their so-called Bat Cave or bunker. You don't see too much of the cave.
No, you don't. But I think it's safe to say they're there. Maybe we kind of know they're there, but because later Damian is there but we'll get to that in a sec. Yeah, so really kind of cool art with this, the way they depicted like visually, which they really, you wouldn't really think they would have to do, where Zur Batman is monitoring all the communications. They're showing this sphere around him with all these little points of light and light lines and stuff. And you know, he's now super comfortable. It's kind of like this is his place. He's on his way to being basically the big brother of Gotham, monitoring everybody. Almost got a swagger to him, like super confident. And Damian, at least on this page, is like before, is like super down with it. And I think we got a little bit of insight of why in some ways, because Damian says, Batman and Robin, father and son, we don't need anybody else. And so that kind of, maybe that's like his thing all along, because when he came into the Bat family as Bruce's only biological son, but Bruce essentially already had 3 sons, 2 daughters, 3 daughters,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so Damian's kind of like, yeah, I'm digging this. Let's go, right?
Yeah, I can see that aspect. That's what he wants. That he wants the father and son thing, the Batman and Robin thing. That's what he's looking for. He wants to be isolated from everybody else. I mean, he gets along with the family, but this is like his dream, his hope and wish. And you know, Zur's sitting in almost looking like a captain's chair.
Yeah.
With this orb, you know, hologram orb that's, I assume, is Gotham City, and he's just monitoring in his ear, you know, everything that goes on. So that is a cool first page.
Yeah, and just one last thing, which maybe is a Damian's kind of, we don't see his face, but Zur Batman says, like, kind of implying about crime and the battle. It never ends, but luckily, neither will I. Meaning he's going to last forever. Is because he's a robot, or
he doesn't have a body that'll give out and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Damian's probably going, but you know, I know you summarized the book. I got to jump into some highlights on the next page. You got to tell me, because sometimes you know, between a month I don't remember every detail. But when we last left Vandal, he was kind of convening with a bunch of Gotham elite of some kind, maybe criminal elite or whatever, about, you know, his future in Gotham. And now all of a sudden he's the police commissioner. So did I miss something, Bill, or just kind of something must have played out off panel?
No, it was definitely off panel. You didn't miss anything. I think, you know, several issues ago, these elite members or whoever they are approached him and was like, how would you like to be commissioner?
Right.
Apparently they have, you know, their pockets, or they're lining, you know, Mayor Nakano's pockets or something.
Right.
And when we look and see him introduced, Nakano doesn't look super comfortable.
No, you're absolutely right. I picked up on that because in the previous issues, Nakano kind of looks too arrogant all the time, like almost overly confident in almost all scenes I've seen with him in this run. And now he's kind of looking, as Vandal's speaking, he's kind of almost like looking away, like, this is painful for me. I don't like this.
Yeah, I'm not sure his thoughts here, but Vandal Savage, I mean, the commissioner, that throws me. I knew you could see it coming. I don't know how much I like this, really. I guess it'll be interesting. It's not going to play out forever. It's, as I said the last episode, this is going to be Bruce's next problem. I can't see this.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I have a more existential continuity question here, but maybe I don't want to get us bogged down, but you know, this Dawn of DC, you know, post 3.5 reboots since, you know, Flashpoint, whatever continuity we're in right now, right? Are we assuming this continuity, like Vandal's, is he new to people? Because Nightwing would see on the news, excuse me, Vandal Savage is now the police commissioner. I'm going to say something, or you see what I'm saying? Like he's been a big bad before, but in this continuity, has he not been the big bad yet?
Well, this continuity, from my understanding, is they remember everything.
Okay. Yeah, well, all stories are relevant.
Right. Right. So I don't know if that means they remember everything or what it is exactly.
Yeah.
The heroes know who Vandal Savage is. You
Yeah,
have
well,
to think that. But here in Gotham, vigilantes are not welcome. They're not.
mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think that could be a reason. It would have been nice if we saw like a scene with Dick Grayson and Barbara.
I keep asking for those, but anyway, I'm a sucker for those scenes.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then we get more of Nakano looking super weak, and the last panel of this page is like, Mayor Nakano, we'll be talking soon. That's what Zur says. So, and he looks kind of defeated. The mayor, like he's like in a no-win situation.
Yeah, I would say because he doesn't want Batman in his corner, and he doesn't want. It doesn't look like he wants Vandal Savage to back Vandal Savage, even though he has to. He doesn't have a choice.
Right. And so, as you said, we get back to Bruce in his pickup truck from last issue where he left Gotham, heading somewhere. Meanwhile, kind of simultaneous, you got a scene with Amanda Waller kind of talking to one of her henchmen about whether this Batman in the robot suit is really Batman and this and that. But I love this Happy Harbor scene. I love, I love sort of these kinds of like reminiscent moments and stuff. And, for them to go all the way back to Happy Harbor, that means, like we just talked about, that continuity obviously is relevant. That was the first home of the Justice League. Bruce goes there and he just kind of has this forlorn look, like remembrance look. And then there's this flashback with him and Barry. And what I thought was so touching about this is kind of this moment where Barry's Barry's lighthearted. Barry's a team player. Batman clearly is still this loner persona. And then Barry probably reminds Batman that, hey, I'm a chemist. And all of a sudden he busts out a better smoke bomb than Batman's ever made. And then he kind of talks him through it. And then you kind of see a little smile that on Bruce's face. He doesn't even say anything, but that little teeny smile is a moment that's so well depicted here where maybe Batman's like thinking, you know what? I should probably listen to this guy. That I can trust him.
Yeah, I could be part of a team.
Right.
Yeah, I really like this Zdarsky. He's thrown in a couple flashbacks over his run that I really enjoyed that are callbacks.
Me too. And that last panel where it goes back to the present and after Batman, while Bruce is remembering, he's got his like arm down. He's thinking like, almost like, gosh, those were good times. Those were better times than now.
Absolutely. And if you remember this Rhode Island, Happy Harbor cave, it had the Justice League of America. It had the Justice League leading into International for a brief period. Yeah. It had the Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Justice League Detroit. Doom Patrol was an occupant for a bit. Yeah. And it played a role in some later issue. I think it was in Breakdowns. It was in JLI. They brought it back too. Got a lot of history to see in Happy Harbor.
Yeah, absolutely. And one question I have for you here before we get too far, Bruce is headed, out of town and he talks about Zur living in his head.
Yeah.
And now he has to triple guess next move. Hope he doesn't know what he's planning. We don't know the exact time frame on when Zur was created. Because I don't think he was created, when he went in from the issue of the night when Bruce was training. He wasn't created there. It was at some point he was created. Would he have the memories of Bruce from the beginning if his birth date, let's say, is at this point into let's say it's year 4? Would he remember things that happened in year 3 and year 2 and year 1?
Interesting question. My gut is, you kind of touched on this, I think, in the last episode, that at the point in which Zur went into the failsafe consciousness, the consciousness went into the failsafe. From that point forward, they're disconnected. But I think that whenever Zur was created, the moment that he was created, he obtained all of the Bruce memories, and then henceforth knew everything that was going on with Bruce and Batman up until the point where he went over to the failsafe robot.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
But so he would know where this Happy Harbor is. He will know where everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or that's Bruce's biggest concern, obviously, with going to places that Zur's going to go. Okay, Zur's probably going to go down a list at some point.
But here's the thing: at this point in time, as we see in this next page with Capio. I keep saying Capito, Captio. He is talking to Zur, and Zur's like, that doesn't mean nothing. He doesn't care that Bruce Wayne escaped. Bruce Wayne is finished. And then Captio is like saying, I think you might be underestimating him. Like so many villains have done over the years. And he said, quit dissecting my brain. I know you get off on that sort of thing.
Yeah. Good point. I definitely picked up on the part where Captio's saying he's being overconfident, but I didn't fully grasp what you pointed out, where Zur is kind of dismissive of Bruce's skills and resourcefulness. So that's probably foreshadowing a bit that he's underestimating him, and it'll come back to haunt him.
Well, here's the thing. If we think about how Bruce has been the last several issues, he feels like he's broken. He feels like, he's defeated.
Mm-hmm.
And he created this in his mind before he left his body.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he knows. He's no longer there. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah, we know that Bruce is going to make a comeback. When they separated, Bruce was at his lowest.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's just like, he's broken already. I know it because I was in his head, or I was sharing a consciousness with him, or whatever.
Yeah, he's very confident and cocky, and
that's important. I think that's important here.
Yeah.
So then, we go to this scene where basically that's what Waller's people are trying to go after Bruce in the manor, I guess.
Well, it's Bruce. It's the Zur Batman.
Oh, that's Zur.
Yeah, they're going after Zur. Well, she sent them where they think Zur is going to be, and they're making comments here. It says the new police commissioner of Gotham is Batman because the commissioner owns, as of right now, he owns Wayne Manor.
Well, that's one of the cops. Yeah, says that, or whatever those guys are. Yeah. That's kind of funny, but does I don't want to get sidetracked. We talked about it. I'm not sure if you and I talked about it offline or online, but we talked about it at some point about it's getting a little uncomfortable how many people know other people's secret identities in this.
Yes.
It's almost like there's a code, even if you're a bad guy or a good guy, you just don't disclose it or whatever. So do we know that in this continuity, is Waller know Bruce is? Oh
yeah, she absolutely knows.
Okay, she knows. Yeah. So, but her guys don't necessarily know that.
She was sending them to the Batcave, where the Batcave is.
Right.
So,
God, boy, nobody's ever going to be able to use Wayne Manor again.
Well, I found it amusing that they thought, hey, this is Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne is Batman. Instead, they're thinking, oh, the police commissioner is Batman. That threw like a curveball there.
Right. So, anyway, that they get there. Robin's kind of defending the fort, right? And then Zur flies over to the nation of Gamora wherever that is.
Yeah, so wherever that
and confronts Waller by busting through the window. And anyway, what do you think of this whole scene? I mean, I guess
this was pretty cool because it's bringing us into,
yep,
this very issue has brought us into the event that's coming here in a month.
Absolutely, yeah. So they're kind of saying, hey, we kind of want the same mission, and that's going to be the connection, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think it's important if people picked up, and this came out after, well, it came out on, Infinite here, the zero issue of Absolute Power, has this Zur Batman working with Amanda Waller.
Right.
So this is leading up to that. And it was kind of, I like this confrontation. This seems like, it feels like going through this issue, it feels like Amanda Waller is trying to, get in his head a little bit. And I think she kind of succeeds here.
No, I think she does. And, not that we're going to go down like a big rabbit hole, but in the same last few weeks of comic releases, she's kind of got a similar confrontation with Trigon. So like they're depicting her like really strong, like which is great, because if you're the big bad over the summer, you've got to be that way. And they're laying the groundwork that she can stand up to Trigon. She can stand up to this fail-safe Zur, and so and I think it's effective, actually.
Yeah, and the way the art is depicted in here, she's standing up and telling him, we want the same thing. And you see her body language. He's like almost twice as tall as she is. And she's just standing up. She has this face. She's looking right up at him.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, this is just a throwaway comment, but I really like the old school Waller, sort of the heavy set, not gorgeous Waller. There was a time period and different continuities on TV and whatnot that they tried to make her look, super attractive. I think she's better this way. Just her confidence. This is how Waller's supposed to look. This is like back in the 80s Suicide Squad.
And she's supposed to be a love to hate sort of thing.
Yeah. But I love it. It's like, it reminds me of that 80s Suicide Squad issues where Batman meets her for the first time. Where maybe this is a throwback. Maybe you should check it out. Maybe one of our listeners will look it up for us. But when Zur Batman leaves, he says, "You've been warned." And she goes, "I suppose I have." It's like, that's kind of the same vibe from the Ostrander book from back in the late 80s. Like, all right, Batman's warned me. Like, she's that strong. I mean, it's pretty cool.
It was more of a sarcastic kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose I have. It's like, yeah, but then we go to this. I love this scene. You love this scene about the cabin and stuff. This is some place that Bruce apparently went to with his parents, and there was this cool line about how they would take Alfred, and then when they were at the cave, the Waynes would cook for Alfred instead of the other way around, which demonstrates that he's really part of the family and everything else. And then they show this flashback of we find out, we don't know right away, at least I didn't know right away which Robin this was, but it turns out to be Tim, younger Tim, where Bruce is basically showing him how to use a bow and arrow and a target and stuff. What'd you think of this? How'd you feel like?
I really like this. And this must have been, I don't know, Tim, is getting frustrated here because he can't. I liked that they taped an apple to the bullseye. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, Tim's changed a bit over the years in different continuities and stuff, but it kind of reminds me back to the original Tim, right? Because the original Tim was a computer whiz, almost Oracle level type, and he found out who Batman was, but he wasn't necessarily a skill. He was just a kid with some great computer skills, if I recall correctly. And then he didn't have all the Dick Grayson acrobat skills, the fighting skills. Batman had to teach him all that, right? So this is part of that. That's the cool throwback, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I loved this scene. I really did.
Yeah, this was a good scene, and it sort of setting us up for what's to come. But you have Bruce, he's still kind of in his head a little bit.
Mopey.
Yeah, he's like, I'm inspired. I'm up against it. He says, my body hurts. I'm slowing down. He says, there's nothing else to do to put in work like Tim needed to do. Put in work to be Robin. I need to put in work to be Batman. But he still has doubting a little bit here in this scene.
Yeah, but the way it flows is, it goes. He's like, you know what? Like it's like there's nothing more else to do but to put in the work. Like it's time to be done. Like in this down, defeated mode, it's like this is the beginning right here. These panels of Batman's resurgence, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. So
absolutely
really cool. But I just want to make a question for you because, and I like it. Don't get me wrong. It's like, this is not the first time he's talking about getting slower and older and all this stuff. So, I mean, what are we thinking here? Did I ask you this last time? I'm sorry. What is he, 45-ish? I mean, what's going on? What's old mean? Because, you and I are old. We're in our 50s.
I don't. Well, thanks for sharing that. But
sorry, you can edit that out if you want. No, but
I don't know.
What is old? Like, what does that mean? People start slowing down at 45-ish, 41?
No, I think it's sort of like 35, between 35.
Okay, so you still think they're going?
I just think he's at least 10 years in, but
okay. Well, we don't have to get bogged down that.
I think he feels old because he's been beaten and bloodied, and this has been. Well, if you think about this, this run. He met up with Failsafe. He got beat by Failsafe. He goes to another dimension, and he's on the run basically there. And it's been nonstop for I don't know how long. And if you think about it, I don't know if that's weeks, if that's a month, or
yeah,
what it's been. He's probably just feels like I don't feel like he's almost 50 or anything like that.
I'm going to go with this. I have a good analogy. He's like Tom Brady at 42. Like, you're clearly not as good as he was when he was 28. Nolan Ryan played till he was like 42 or 43. Clearly not as good as when he was 30 years old. Maybe that's where Bruce is in his athleticism. Is like he's still got it, but it's harder to recover from beatdowns and everything, and he's recognizing that.
Well, I'll agree with the Nolan Ryan.
Okay, fair enough.
But that other person that you mentioned, I won't comment.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't know who he is.
But. All right, good. So we're back in the what we think to be I guess it's the Batcave because that's where Tim was before.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Damien was before, and you still got more of this. Zura looking really comfortable. Now he's got like things hooked to his head, and he's clearly looking less and less like he's acting. He's acting like he's dropping the veneer of that. This is Bruce is in his consciousness,
right.
And Tim's just kind of going along with it, and then you, as you said, I mean, this Amazo scene here. Do they look like any DC heroes we know of, or
yeah?
Like maybe. What do you think?
I think one's a Green Lantern, maybe. Oh no, that's John Jones. It looks like blue cape and green. I don't know who that one. The one looks like Wonder Woman. The fourth one from the left.
Oh yeah, you're right. That does
like Wonder Woman.
Yeah. Oh.
So two look like Justice League. I assume they're not
1-to-1 like each member of the league. But Tim's not. I keep saying Tim. I apologize. Damien is like more amazing robots, but Father, we can't trust them. And he was kind of thinking earlier on, it's Batman and Robin time, and we don't need that Bat family. Oh crap! You just brought in a bunch of robots. Now I'm going to be second fiddle to them. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And then boom. He kind of he's like, what are you going to fill their heads with? Oh, I've got these Zur personalities from alternate universes, and then boom. I mean, Damien light bulb goes off, right?
Yes.
And it's like, oh, and then it doesn't take him long to go. You're not Bruce at all. Basically, what did you do to my father? So Damien has completely turned right here, and lo and behold, Zur takes evasive action and sends out his little tentacle robot things and doesn't waste any time to try to convince Damien or anything, and just says, well, I need a Robin I can control. And then out pops this not robot looking, but menacing looking. How would you describe this Robin that pops out of this cylinder chamber thing?
It doesn't look like a robot. It looks almost like, an android or something that looks human.
And
he has a stick with like a blade on the end.
It's like a Sith almost, of some kind of.
Yeah.
It's.
And he's in all red. His cape has points on it, like spiky.
Mm-hmm.
He looks kind of menacing.
I kind of think this. Maybe you're right. Maybe Android's the way to go, but it's not like an Amazo.
No.
He's got skin. So
it might be shape changing or something. I don't know.
And then that's where we leave these cats. And then we go back to the cabin. Bruce.
But one thing I wanted to say real quick is one thing that Zur says while he's fighting Damien. He says Waller was right. Total control is the only option. So that's the beginning of his partnership there with Waller.
I'm glad you pointed that out. Yeah, he's. They got to set this up. It's happening soon. So, he's now. The question later on is, well, who's going to have the control, you or Waller? But to be continued on that. But so then we go back to the cabin. He's building something. He's working on it. He's made some progress. We know what it is from future panels. I don't know if I didn't pick up on exactly what he was building.
I didn't pick up on it either, but it makes sense. It's like, and you see what happens at the end. It's like, okay.
Yeah. But then all of a sudden he gets startled, and somebody says from off camera, off scene, off page, says, "No one got your back?"
So, who did you think it was? Because it's at the bottom of the page, and we're reading it digital. Did you know who it was?
Yeah, I did. Because 5 pages ago we had his flashback with Tim being there, so it's Tim. And again, great job, Chip. I love Chip Zdarsky. I love his banter between heroes, and especially heroes that have an emotional connection. It feels so, and the drawing goes hand in hand. It feels so. It
feels authentic.
Authentic, a perfect way to put it. And in that frame that doesn't have any word bubbles of Bruce with that closed mouth smile, it feels so sincere and appreciative that Tim's there. And we don't have to go into all the dialogue, but it's basically saying you need a partner. You've always needed a partner, right? I mean, it's just kind of like I almost got goosebumps on this page.
Well, here's the one thing that you can say about Chip Zdarsky in this run is he has a handle on these characters. Whether you like where the story is going or not, he has a handle on who these characters are.
Totally agree. And that's essential. Sometimes you have a great story and then the dialogue falls flat. If I had to pick, I'd rather have them have a handle on the characters, I mean, but we're not saying the story's bad, but sometimes we're going, Vandal Savage here. There's a lot going on, but these moments are really poignant.
Yeah, and here's Bruce is kind of talking his way through, with Tim about Zur finding them and stuff, and he says here, and I think this is important. He says, "My self-doubts were him doubting me. He doesn't think I can beat him. That's the only real danger is if I involved others." And Tim says, well, that's why you've been doing it solo. So this was the whole Gotham War. It was the doubts that Zur had with Bruce and Bruce wanting to, because the Gotham War, we read it. We didn't love it. It felt a little off to me. I don't know. I don't remember exactly what you thought of it, but this makes more sense that he wasn't himself due to Sir Zur's influence.
Well, yeah, this is a big reveal. Actually, made us wonder why Bruce was being so insecure. It's all that Zur. He says, Zur. He seeded something in my brain, fear that I was dragging all of you to hell with me. So, Batman's, or Bruce, let's call him Bruce. Bruce is realizing that that this was done to him, his consciousness, and he's fighting back. And
he had nightmares.
Yep.
He thought it was his fault. And he said, I had a one-man war on crime that became something bigger, and the responsibility I felt was just, I've never been good with loss. And this is what Batman's always been about. It's about loss. It's about, he's never really grieved. If you would bring this character to a psychiatrist, and they would say, yeah, he needs some therapy. He needs to grieve. He needs to, and he doesn't want to let himself do that.
Yeah. He's saying that Zur fed him a fear that he will feel like he felt when his parents died if he lets one of these Bat family members die. So he's got to not let one of the Bat family members die. So he's got to do this alone. So it's all circular. So, and now he's realizing, and Tim is essential, basically saying, we chose this life. Most of us would have ended up here without you, without your training making us better. You've already saved us. We're your family, and you can't avoid loss. Everyone dies eventually, and it's how you live that counts. And we all help others, and that includes helping each other. And so when I read that, I was thinking, what does he mean? That all these characters were going to be superheroes anyway? No, that's not what he's saying. He's probably saying something like, I would have become a policeman, or somebody else would have gone in the Marines. That's right. That's their nature. So, right?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
And one line here, Bruce does admit that, this weakness, this fear was making him, he was getting older and weaker, unable to stop what's coming. He had that feeling about that. All this from Zur implanting this, whatever, seated in his mind.
And then after this whole conversation, which we're not going to read everything, but we recommend everybody.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. Yeah. And then he concludes with, I need my family. It's time. And then we find out on the last splash page of the main story that he says it's time to put this monster down. And this whole time we couldn't exactly tell what he was building in the cabin. Well, it's a badass new bat suit.
Yes, looks like armor plated.
Yeah. Great page.
Yes.
It screams Batman's back. Or Bruce.
It does. It does. And that this is sort of like the third act almost. He's been defeated by the failsafe twice.
Right.
Essentially. And this is almost like the third act. And he appears to be ready. And Batman's supposed to be ready for everything, or he claims he's ready for everything. So I'm excited to get my hands on this next issue. It should be very exciting.
We already have your hands on it. The question is will you be able to resist reading it before it comes out on Ultra? Probably not, huh?
Oh, yes. I will read it very soon.
Yeah. So we switch over to the backup, which is not like in some other books. We explained it before, where it's like it's directly tied into this story. It's almost running parallel. It's not. It's really it's pretty cool in that sense. So it's like I was reading the comic yesterday, which will go nameless, where I came to the backup. I go, oh yeah, I forgot I hate this backup, and I didn't even read it because it didn't matter. It doesn't matter to the main story. This is important to the main story. So we turned to what is Blackgate, right? And then you got this scene where Edward Nygma, the Riddler, is talking to Harvey Dent, Two-Face through their cells or whatever. And then one of these failsafe type drone robots comes up to Nygma's cell and says, the warden wants your presence. They go out into this, prison yard, and Captio's there. all buffed out, super buffed out, almost Bane buffed out. Look at those veins, dude. He's huge, and you know,
Maybe he's been working out since he was sitting in that box for years or whatever.
exactly, because that's part of his backup. Good point. Yeah, he's like, but yeah, he clearly. I mean, he might have misled Derry because those arms are massive, man. But anyway, Nigma's like, okay, well, what's up and stuff, and you know, all you know, he's thinking that maybe he was going to fight, like maybe the warden was going to like challenge him to fight or something. No. He's bringing out other prisoners into the yard, including Victor Zsasz. They even give him a couple knives.
Yeah.
And then they attack the warden, like Zsasz, some massive dude. I'm not sure who that guy is. He's huge. He's almost as big as like Blockbuster. The guy's massive. And then like while he's taking them down, while he's kicking their butts, the warden is kicking their butts. He's carrying on this casual conversation, which is deep actually, with Nigma, right? And I don't know, Bill, if you want to take it from here in terms of like, do we get this feeling that Nigma or Captio is basically saying, you know, you're doing this all wrong. You keep losing to the Batman because you're destined to lose because of your insecurity. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, it's your ego is a constant battle with your chronic embarrassment.
Yeah, which is, like you said to me in the green room, you said, yeah, he's like, he does the riddles because it's something's in him that basically wants to create an opportunity where he fails, right? It's not just his shtick. There's something in him that he should fail. There's something that's what Captio recognizes, right? And he's basically saying, "You want to end this cycle, right?"
And he says that Batman's not the one holding you back.
Right.
It's you that's holding yourself back.
Right. And then we end up going into some. I guess the prison has been redecorated or renovated to include a room that has this giant machine that's kind of.
It looks like you can put 6 people in it, and
you could kind of see a head alcove cut. So yeah, like and basically he's kind of saying, I can make you what you're supposed to be. I could bring. It's almost like, okay, here we go. Are we going to have Zoo Riddler soon? Well, it kind of feels like that, right?
Yeah, it does feel like that. The first thing I saw when I saw this, it reminded me of that little head device, top there that the Riddler put on in Batman Forever. He had that little mind thing, but
that's a good pickup.
He's choosing the Riddler because, he's so obsessed with the mind.
Yeah.
He just wants to know if he can take this, very smart criminal mastermind that has this huge weakness, and if he can partition his mind to have like the master criminal. This isn't somebody like the Joker. This is a little different, and I just think he's fascinating. This is his own, playground of experiments with all these different characters that he has here in Blackgate.
Yeah, and it wasn't lost on me that he didn't bring Harvey Dent into the yard, because Harvey Dent he's not a mastermind. He's a kind of more like a gangster type, and he's legitimately crazy. Riddler is not like lost his marbles or anything.
No, and you would really have to, if you think about it. All these characters usually would be in Arkham, but since they've been rounded up by this Zur Batman, they're over here in Blackgate.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see where this is going to go. I do have to say, this whole thing.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, man. I mean, very, very good issue. Very fun issue. I'm letting go some of my Vandal stuff because I think you're right. It's like this is for later.
Mm-hmm.
This is they're because it doesn't make sense that Vandal will play a huge role in, like, well, maybe, who knows, we'll see if he plays a huge role like Absolute Power or something, but they're setting up for something different. Now, wait a minute. Before I get too ahead of myself, isn't Chip Zdarsky's run coming to an end soon, or do we know?
That I don't know. He's still through
like August,
151, I believe.
Okay, so that was probably a mistake by
we
me.
got we got 3 more. 48 for 950.
Yeah.
I do know the finale of Dark Prisons is next issue.
Okay, and then we'll probably is that coincide?
And then it's sort of a few issues, I think, with Absolute Power.
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, maybe after that's all done with, we'll come back to Vandal Savage running Gotham's police department, or something like that. But anyway, other than that, it was loved. I loved the interpersonal scenes, and I loved the break. The breaking down of Bruce and now the building back up. Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I really thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's all coming together. If you've been reading this the whole time, it's one of those, long runs that, I mean, it's not we're not talking about Tom King long run, but he's been on there a good while, and I don't know how many arcs there's been, but we're starting to, get rewarded for the stuff way back in the first initial arc.
Yeah, and I've been waiting and dreaming for the reunification of Bruce and the Bat family, and he basically says, we're bringing the band back together. Let's go get this guy. So we're going to see some Bat family going on, I'm guessing, in the next issue.
Yes, it should be pretty exciting.
Did I tell you I like the Bat family?
Yes, you have mentioned that once or twice.
I do love the Bat family. So anyway, yeah, great episode, great issue. So
yeah. So I'm excited. So next episode, we will have part 3 of the Batman First Night. It's the final issue of the First Night, and that will close that story. And then we'll be back for Batman 148.
Yes.
So we'll be back here in a few weeks. Thank you for staying current with Gotham Currents. We will see you later.